Now it took us three segments, but we finally got to the biggest sporting event of the year, and that is the Super Bowl between the Chiefs and the Eagles. And it really just kind of is because it kind of takes us so long to get to this game. You have to
Mhm.
wait 2 weeks after the NFC and AFC title games to get to the game itself. You had the media introductions the other day, which weren't really a lot of like in-depth stuff. There is a great clip. I wonder if you can find it on Twitter of Nick Sirianni talking about his first press conference with the Eagles, where if you
Mhm.
go back and remember it, it's like one of the most mind-boggling introductions in recent memory. Adam Gase was worse, but Adam Gase was
Yeah.
worse in the long run, but it was so funny to point at Nick Sirianni and being like, haha, but we know now that he can coach.
Yeah.
The the whole media day was basically like, oh, who does a great impression of Patrick Mahomes? According to Pat Mahomes, it's Andy Reid. We won't hear it yet, but I hope we do someday. Some guys weren't into Philly cheesesteaks. All right. Um, Kelsey brothers are playing against one another. That's cool. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but
You had the one other question that somebody asked Nick Sirianni about a player dating his daughter. His daughter is 5 years old, so he did not take finally to that question.
whoa,
Obviously,
whoa, whoa! When was that?
that was earlier this week too, Mitch. Obviously, I think everybody that is at least on social media has seen the trend of players walking around locker rooms interviewing their teammates and say, "Hey,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
who
Yeah.
would you not let date your daughter?"
Oh, okay,
Well,
okay, okay.
somebody asked Sirianni, "What player would you let date your daughter?" And his response was, "My daughter is 5 years."
Oh, I thought you like I thought this was just like a reporter just flat out asking him. I guess they didn't realize that that's that's better than what I thought you were going with that. I
Right?
did see
Yeah.
the one with Jalen Hurts. That was like oof,
Yeah.
like oof. The one where the reporter's like, I didn't think you'd get here to Super Bowl. He's like, all right, bet.
Yeah. I mean, I don't.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh boy. But that's one of my ultimate nightmares too, as a person who's reported before. Um, but as for this game coming up, I'm wondering where you stand on what this matchup is going to entail, because I do think this is the matchup between the two best pound for pound teams in the NFL this year. We at least got that. It looks like we're going to have the teams at about 99% full capacity, if not full capacity, because Mahomes has been kind of hobbled still by the ankle sprain, but and who don't even know if it's more than a sprain. But it looks like he's going to keep practicing and be good enough to play. Eagles shouldn't have too many big losses. Chiefs shouldn't have too many big losses. What is the main component you're looking for as to what might be the difference between these two squads on Sunday?
I think the main component, and there's one for both sides, but I think the first one, Mitch, you have to start with the Chiefs offense and Eagles defense. Eagles defensive line, I believe, Mitch, had the most sacks in the NFL this year, and they did it rushing four, meaning they drop everybody else into coverage. Now that bodes well for the Eagles because a lot of the time the Chiefs are so dominant because nobody can double Travis Kelsey because they want to try to put pressure on Mahomes and get to him. And typically you don't have a defensive front like we've seen with the Eagles this year. Now the Eagles with that defensive front can drop other people into coverage, double team Kelsey. And we know that if there is an injury bug right now with the Chiefs, it is their wide receiver room. At the same time doing that, Patrick Mahomes is so magical, Mitch, with his arm talent and what he can do on the fly. You just wonder if he's still going to be able to fit the ball into either Kelsey, who, Mitch, we've seen teams try to double him before. It's not always successful. It's a mammoth of a man moving down the field at a fast speed that has great hands. If the Eagles do blitz more than their, front four, does Patrick Mahomes pick them apart? And on the same side, I don't think the Eagles actually, it's not, I don't think, I know the Eagles have not played a quarterback in the last few weeks of the regular season and in this game of the level of Patrick Mahomes. The last quarterback that you would say is good, above average, a recognizable name is Dak Prescott, and the Cowboys lit the Eagles defense up in Dallas. If the Chiefs are successful and Mahomes picks apart this Eagles defense, and the Eagles then get down by a enough points to where they can't run the ball, Mitch, how does Jalen Hurts look having to throw the ball? We know that going into the playoffs, he was banged up. He had a shoulder injury, sprained shoulder, his throwing shoulder. We had all these doubts. Is he going to be able to throw the ball against the Giants? And, they ran the ball down the Giants' throats. Now, the Chiefs' rush defense is bottom of the NFL. I believe they're 22nd in rush defense. So not great. But you and I both know firsthand, once you're down by a considerable amount, not just 7 points, Kevin Stefanski, you really can't run the ball as much. So My thing is, what does Jalen Hurts look like having to throw the ball, drop back passing if it comes to that point? This, to your point, Mitch, you said this is the best two teams in the NFL, pound for pound. 100% agree. 14-3 record, both the number one seed in their respective conferences. We got the top two teams in the NFL in the Super Bowl, which is what we want. And I'm excited. I really don't know where this game goes in terms of, is it going to be a defensive slugfest? Is it going to be a shootout? I'm excited. This is probably one of the first Super Bowls in recent memory that I don't know what to expect, if that makes sense.
That's fair. No, I like that these teams are matching up for the first time this season because I never really love it when you already have a matchup during the regular season going into the Super Bowl, unless it's like an instant classic. Like there was the one where we thought we were going to get Chiefs Rams a few years ago,
Yeah.
and then it ended up not being that. Um, as for the Chiefs themselves, the receiver core is going to be interesting because they were a little banged up heading into the week, but it looks like most of them are going to be back. Juju Smith-Schuster, Kadarius Toney. Juju's another one from this week where he was asked about he doesn't think the best cheesesteaks are from Philadelphia, and he has the sort of giggle afterwards that makes me really really happy that we beat them 48-37. We also have McCole Hardman, who's not going to play in the Super Bowl. It looks like his groin injury or his pelvic injury, excuse me, is going to be too much to allow him to play in this game. So I wonder if if that'll make Mahomes rely on Kelsey more than he usually does already.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at the same time, Philadelphia, their last like the Chiefs have done what they needed to do. They beat Cincinnati, they beat Jacksonville. They did what they needed to do, but they didn't look unstoppable.
Right.
And I know Philadelphia just played a team that had to scramble through 3.5-ish quarterbacks in one game, none of them fully healthy. Philadelphia has had little to no problems in these playoffs so far. They've only played 2 games, but there's a reason why it looks like they got the number one seed. There's a reason why it looks like they're steamrolling this competition. And I do think the AFC is stronger than the AFC in terms of total competition, but and I'm wondering if this might be a handily a Philadelphia victory.
I I don't want to say I wouldn't be shocked because I think I would be. But I mean, you raise great points. This, to your point, I do agree with you. The AFC is much more loaded in talent from top to bottom. The NFC, the Eagles did what they had to do. They got the one seed, 2 games at home. They played a Giants team that just shattered people's expectations, I think, of what to expect this year, but they just weren't good enough to get to where the Eagles are. And then you played the Niners, and Mitch afterwards, Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver for the 49ers, came out and said he's taking the Chiefs because the Eagles have not played an actual quarterback for a while and that the defense won't know what to do. And I think that's the interesting point here. I could see that if the front four is able to get pressure on Mahomes, that the Eagles can run the score up and get up by a wide margin. I'm never going to say the Chiefs are out of a game if they're down by 2 possessions strictly because of the quarterback and what Mahomes is capable of with his arm. It'll be interesting. I think that I'm going to find I know for a fact I'm going to be rooting for Philadelphia, Mitch. I really
Yep.
am.
Yep.
I'm gonna pick Kansas City to win this game. I think the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. I think we just covered some things that the Eagles have gone through. They have not seen a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, and doubling Travis Kelce in words is one thing. Actually executing it is another. And Mitch, let's not act like these other wide receivers for the Chiefs aren't serviceable because they
No.
are. Obviously, it's no Tyreek Hill, who we know obviously is in Miami, but a great quarterback can make good wide receivers great. And I think we have a chance to see Mahomes do that with someone like Juju Smith-Schuster. You mentioned McCole Hardman out. That's a big loss, in my opinion. You have somebody like Valdez-Scantling, I believe, that we saw it with Aaron Rodgers. Now you've seen it a couple times with Mahomes. I just think that right now the Chiefs getting 1.5 points in the spread has bounced all around since the night the Super Bowl matchup was, announced or decided.
Yeah.
It's bounced 1 point to a pick 'em, 1.5, 2.5 is the largest I ever saw. I'm going to pick the Chiefs to win. I am rooting for the Eagles because I don't like the Chiefs. I'm excited for this because I think this is actually this has all the makings of what could be another instant classic Super Bowl.
I hope so. And the spread is at 1.5 right now. So it's a slight edge to the Eagles. And for some reason I'm with I mean, not for some reason I'm with you. I know why I want the Eagles to win over the Chiefs. I'm getting to that point where I get what people thought of Tom Brady and the Patriots for so many years. Ironically, I wanted to see the Patriots end up winning that Super Bowl against the Eagles because it's like, really, this Eagles team with Nick Foles as your guy, this guy's gonna coast. I thought he was gonna coast with this team to the Super Bowl, a la a certain Ravens quarterback in 2000. I don't want to say his name, but I think because he worked, I'm sure he worked very hard. You know, uh, I'm trying to think of other quarterbacks now who won Super Bowls and people don't remember them, but I'm good. That's another
Flacco.
segment. No, Joe Flacco was a Pro Bowler, and he at least like was dominant that postseason. He's definitely the weakest of like the last 15 years, but that's a with
Well,
Brady, Manning,
yeah.
Mahomes, Breeze. That's a class of quarterback. I'm talking like the guys back then who, if it wasn't Montana or Aikman, it was like Jeff Hostetler or I don't know, someone along the lines. Exactly, because a lot of those wins back then were like dynasty makers.
Right.
Um, but for some reason, like I wanted that the page. I wasn't mad when the Eagles won, but I was just kind of like, I would have been fine with Brady winning again. But this one, like I can see Philadelphia, especially with how they had to build from the ground up after letting Doug Peterson go just a few seasons ago
Hmm.
from that Super Bowl win and all those players you lost from that run. It's kind of amazing to see how they've been able to turn it around. And I'm kind of hoping for that. I'm sure the Chiefs will be back eventually. That's the thing too. Chiefs are going to be in this run for the next 10 years. I don't know if Philadelphia is going to be even in the playoffs next year. Probably will
Hmm.
be. But that's the way the NFL goes, except for teams like the Chiefs. You know they're probably going to be back eventually. I'd rather see the Eagles that get this one, so then you have some more Chiefs ones down the road. And do you think I think I heard this on CBS Sports Radio today? Do you think that this like another Super Bowl loss would kind of start turning people against Mahomes? Because I know he's already got the one, and people will be like, yeah, he's already done what he has to do. But I think it's because of the expectations, like LeBron, where people are like, oh, this guy's going to win like 3, 4, 5 Super Bowls, man. He's going to be the greatest of all time. I can't stand the people, by the way, who are like, oh, he's in his sixth season. He's going to be the greatest. He'd be a Hall of Famer right now. I can't stand those people.
Yeah. It's,
But
I,
I don't know. I don't
I,
know. It could be a thing where it's like, well, maybe he's not the guy who can get it done every time. He's still going to get more shots, though, I think.